creating a restaurant is not just one aspect that, oh, I have a great location. Today, it's a culmination of 200 different things. Artists are very passionate people, and that passion can sometimes drive or can be transcended into, a bit of, like you say, oh, okay, it's the ego. But will be a time where I think the closure rate of restaurants is going to go get higher. And it is has to happen. Every market has to have that little change to come in.
Welcome back to the Chef JKP Podcast. And on the show today, we have the CEO of Atelier House Hospitality, Panchali Mahendra. Panchali, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you so much. It's such a pleasure to be here.
First things first, can you tell me your favorite childhood food memory?
My favorite childhood food memory was there's a festival in India called Holi, and it's all about playing with colors. And the whole day, you're with watercolors and dry colors, and you're exhausted. But on the side, my family would make this mutton curry that is slowly cooked for hours. So while you're playing with colors, there is the aroma of that mutton curry that is being prepared. And then you stop playing after 3, 4 hours, and then you eat that slow cooked mutton, lamb. That is one of my favorite memories, aroma, flavor, and fun together. So yeah, that meat taste is really good after a big round of water
Wow.
playing games.
And which part of India are you from?
I am originally from North, from Bihar, but I grew up primarily in Hyderabad, which is in down south of India on the eastern side, and then majority of it was in Lucknow, which is again in north. So I did my schooling from there, and then, but I have grown up all over India.
So what were the types of food, first of all, that you traditionally have in the north?
So the state that I come from, it has a lot of influence of meat. It's Bihar, a lot of spices. Many there is a very famous spice from that place called Panchforan, which has a use of mustard seeds and fennel and cumin. And then I go to down south, where to Hyderabad, and that's a city that is influenced by the Nizam culture. So you have the biryanis and the kebabs that is very well known there. And then again, I moved to another Islamic dominated city called Lucknow, and that is from the Awadhi cuisine. So the whole palette and the biryanis and the kebab completely changed. So a little bit more saffron, a little bit more mincing of the meat, a little bit more melt in your mouth experience with the kebabs.
And do you like more sort of hot spices, or are you more into sort of subtle spices that come through the food?
I am a lot into hot spices. I like my palate being having that outburst of flavors completely, but of course, the little nuances of a cardamom or the cumin or the saffron just slowly playing in your palate is also fantastic. But I do love a nice kick.
Okay.
And,
So,
and married to and being married to a Texan, definitely love a good kick.
uh, so as you were growing up through your adolescence, how did food take shape in your life?
Food has always been a huge integral part of my family and growing up. And like I said, I grew up in major food influenced districts. Lucknow and Hyderabad in India are very, very well known for their food culture, for their street food. And from a family that only spoke about when we were having breakfast, we were discussing about lunch, and then we were having lunch, discussing about dinner. So I literally grew up in a very, very big foodie family. And my mom was a meat lover. My father was a vegetarian.
Oh,
So the dinner
what
table
a
had
union!
so the dinner table had the best of both the worlds.
Yeah.
So there was always 5 to 6 different things being cooked, and then because we grew up in so many places, I got introduced to different cuisines and culture, and India is so unique with
Mm.
29 states and union territories. So it was all about food, and it was my path was being paved to be in the industry.
So then, for your education, did you go into the food route, or was it more sort of hotel management? What did you decide?
So I went into the whole guest relations hospitality management. I did my BA honors in hospitality, and then my post graduation, again, it was all hospitality driven. But in the hotel school, you have to spend equal amount of time in the kitchen too. I don't know if I was cooking much or just being punished most of the time in the kitchen, chopping 100 kgs of onions and
Oh,
chilies. And I still remember one of the incidences was that I was being punished. I was being asked to chop, I don't know, a crate of green chilies. And the trick is that you have to put oil on your nails, on your fingertips. Because we didn't wear gloves at that point and we were chopping. And if you don't, those chilies go inside those fingertips and they burn, and I didn't know the trick. So I was like, oh, okay, you need to oil your fingertips and then chop green chilies.
very good. I like the tip. That's really good. That's a new one. I've not heard that before. So that's
Hopefully, you
really
don't
cool.
have to do that anymore.
Yeah. Well. So then, how long was your education for within hospitality totally? So is it all,
5 years.
so 5 years and all in India, or did you go somewhere else?
Now, all in India. So my graduation was from the Taj Group of Hotels, which is affiliated with University of Huddersfield in Yorkshire. So I got my BA honors from there, and I'm a gold medalist. And then I got through the scholarship program that Oberoi runs in India, which is very reputable. It's called OCLD, Oberoi Center for Learning and Development. You do a 2 years post graduation in different genres. So you have your your management, you have kitchen and housekeeping. I did management, which basically makes you a general manager.
Hmm.
So 5 years in total.
So then, after all of that education, which was obviously very extensive, what was your first role into concept creation, management, that kind of style?
So we are lucky enough when you do your graduation with the Oberoi Hotel School, you directly become a manager. So my first role was to become an assistant F&B manager at the Oberoi Mumbai. So that was the first time. I mean, you do go through the training and you are put as supervisors and advanced levels, but that was the first time in a managerial load, which I will come back to a funny incident, but it can be very daunting at the age of 22, 23 to
Mm.
become a manager and run massive properties. But
I was going to say,
that's what.
so was your first role? Would you say within management? It was you were 22.
Yes, I was 23. Yes, 22, 23.
So that's a young age to run quite a large property.
Yes, 800 room properties.
I mean, that's serious.
Property.
And what was the F&B offering back then?
So in the hotel that the Oberoi tried in Mumbai, Nariman Point, we had all-day dining restaurant, which was 150 covers. We had a bar, we had a coffee shop, and we had a specialty restaurant, 50, 60. So altogether, I would say close to 300 to 400 cover restaurants in there, 800 room property. So
What was the biggest challenge for you, if you think about it back then? What was it? The guests? Was it running the chefs? Was it running the team? What was the biggest challenge back then for you?
the biggest challenge was, and I still remember that the first day that I went and as a manager in the property, you've had your induction. Nobody, the team wanted to see how I would react to it. I went to the all day dining my first day to open the doors for breakfast. And the Asians, they like coming for breakfast really early. So, especially the market from China or Southeast Asia. And I've opened the door, and James, you won't believe there were close to 600, 700 people ready to just barge into those doors to have breakfast.
Okay, hold on a second. So just run me through. What sort of time were you opening the doors?
6:30 in the morning. So from 6:30 till 10:30 was breakfast, sometimes till 11 o'clock, because Indians, they love coming at sharp 10:30 or what the time the last order for the breakfast has to be. So,
But the but the Asians were coming in 6:30 sharp.
yeah, they were
Five
outside the
six
door.
hundred.
And with due course, but
Yeah,
of course,
sure.
by the time we opened the door, there were a good close to 70, 80 people already lined up outside the main doors before we opened for breakfast. So they could just come. They came for meetings. And I was like, what is happening? And that was every day because the restaurant pretty much was, at 90, 95% occupancy. And with doubles, you're looking at 12, 1300 people living in that hotel. And I have never been trained in such a big property. I always got trained in small resorts and small business hotels, but this one was a giant. It's a giant in India.
So how did you react on that first day when you had that flurry of people?
I had no time for reaction, and I want to keep a part of that story for you. as one of my very entertaining episodes and an anecdote that happened in my life.
Okay, so we'll keep
And
that for
we'll come
later.
to that and tell you my reaction to that.
So after that stint at the Oberoi, what did you decide to do next?
So, unfortunately, when I was at the Oberoi, there was a terrorist attack in 2008, where most of South Bombay and the hotels were under a terrorist attack by 10 of the gunmen. And I happened to be there at the hotel, and I almost got shot. I saw the fireworks. I got a friend who got shot in her, a very close friend of mine. So I went through the whole. It was a nightmare. Um, we'll probably have to do another podcast for this whole incident that happened in my life, and it took a lot away from me. And then I came back. I helped rebuild the hotel, because there were bombs and it was shot all over. But there something something took away from that moment, and I
Mm.
I just couldn't be there anymore. So I had to move out for those instances. And also, I don't think I was an operations person. I was not really. I was like, I want to be on the other side. I don't want to work for 18, 19 hours a day. It was
Yeah.
F&B is daunting, and it requires, and that kind of longevity and physical labor.
Mm.
Now, I was done. I think so. I
Wow.
wasn't enjoying the
Yeah.
operations part of it. Um, I mean, even today, I love restaurants, but if you ask me to go and serve for 18 hours, it's like, no, I'm good.
So, I mean, yes, that was a really shocking incident and shocking time, and to come out the other side of that, also, you know, from a post-traumatic stress disorder,
Yep.
it's not easy. So, what made you? You must have still loved hospitality and loved people after such an incident to come back and not necessarily be in that hotel, but be within the realms of hospitality.
True. I mean, I loved food. I loved beverages. I loved the whole people aspect. And one of the reasons, because I had joined hospitality, was also because I thought from the onset it was very glamorous. So I said, well, if I can't be in the movies, I'm going to be. See, you're laughing because you
No,
know.
but it's true. No, but again, a lot of young chefs in the beginning, when they don't
Hmm.
know the truth,
Exactly.
they think, "Oh yeah, it's very glamorous," and then they understand it's physical, it's tough, it's mental. So yeah, it's not
It's
easy.
true. So I thought it was a very glamorous job, and you get to be in front of you're in front of the house.
Mm,
You're meeting all these lovely people. You get to wear this beautiful uniform, do some makeup. So I was like, okay, if not movies, then it is hospitality. Till I didn't know the harsh realities of
yeah.
of being in one. But yes, that love always stayed, and I did well. Like even in my school day,
Mm,
college days,
mm,
universities, and even operations, there was a part of me that was like, I'm meant for this. This is what I've studied. Let's find what else can be done apart from operations. And lucky enough for me, at that point of time, consulting was coming in India. And there was a company called HVS, Hospitality Valuation Services, from New York, that had its own office in India that was doing feasibility and analytical studies for hotels. So I had an interview, and they wanted somebody from the operations background and with the education that I had, and that was a perfect fit. And you know, I don't know about the pay scale in hotels these days, but back in the days, we were hardly paid
mm,
anything.
mm.
So for me to come from an operations background with that kind of remuneration, and then to be in consulting that pays you decently well, was a great jump. And I think it was a lot more to use your brains more than the physical aspect of it. So I said, okay, you know what? I'm getting paid well. This is more academic, driven thing. This
Mm.
can have a growth and a future, and hospitality consulting is the way to go. Hotels consulting primarily. So that then it was that. So then I joined HVS as an associate, as an analyst, and started doing feasibility for hotels in India and working on operatorships, mergers.
So for people who don't know or have not understood what feasibility means, what was it at that time that you were doing analyzing and feasibility? What does it mean exactly?
Sure. So feasibility and basically is number crunching in a layman's word, but it is about finding out when an investor comes to you who wants to open a hotel. It's a lot like what you do with restaurants. you run a numbers study saying whether this project is worth putting in the money or no. And if it is, when are you going to break even? What kind of sales you are going to do? What kind of operator programs you are going to run? So, a feasibility is done primarily to understand whether this project is good to go, and you assist. You become a subject matter expert in terms of understanding your demographics, your geographical reasoning, and then whether this project should be carried out or it should be shelved.
Okay.
So that is what you help mainly people, as people who came with investors. So you help them find operators. So XYZ owns a property. He wants it to become a hotel. So we would make him understand whether he should turn this property into a hotel or no. What kind of F&B spaces he should have, what kind of numbers the rooms will do, F&B will do, and who should be operating it. So you introduce investors with, say, the Oberoi or the Taj or a Hilton or anybody else. So that is what HVS or companies like Hotel Consultings, that's what they do.
Okay. So then, if we fast forward to today, you've obviously been involved in a lot of consulting, openings, so on and so forth. Now, what I'm interested in first is who approaches you? Is it the owners? Is it the hotels? Is it chefs? Or is it anybody?
I think at this point of time, it's everybody and anybody. I think it is chefs, it's investors, it is us also there because we invest in our own properties. I put my money where my mouth is. So we not just consult others. It was very important. I come from a consulting background, but the prime reason to open this company was also to establish our own brands and then showcase, see what we are capable of, what we can do, and then we consult other people. So we also find talent. So I invest in talent in the country and internationally. And most of the time, the consulting aspect of Atelier House Hospitality is when somebody comes in with an idea or the cash or the investment or a location. So different aspects to it.
So if I was okay, so we have a lot of young hospitality professionals, not just within the UAE but throughout the world.
Right.
If I was to come to you and I'm not an investor, I don't have a property, I'm either a chef or restaurateur or I have a great idea,
Hmm.
but I don't have capital behind me. If I was to come and approach you, what would be the best way to come and speak to you and say, listen, Panchali, I have an incredible idea. I believe that it can move forward, not just because it's an amazing idea, but I do believe that we can also make financial gains from it.
Right. I mean, you can just slide into my DM. But jokes apart, no, I think we have a very open door policy, and the people who believe in our company, who know us, they've seen the kind of work, they can just approach us, give me a call, reach out to, come to our office, have a chat. I don't really like this whole conversation over emails and this.
Mm.
Come down, have a chat with me if you have a concept ready for you or it's in your mind. I mean, I think pretty much 11 Wood Fire is a living example. We believed in the talent of the chef, and he had this idea in mind. My job was to put this idea, which is it's as a cloud idea on paper, give that skin and blood and skeleton, and give the structure, provide everything for the chef, and let him do the culinary magic. And that's what we do for many other investors too.
So, because also, look, I think if you haven't been involved in something called a concept brief before
Hmm.
and you're thinking about your idea, what are the things that you see that most people get wrong in a pitch or in a concept brief?
I mean, I don't know if people, I definitely believe in it. It's your gut value. First of all, you need to go with what your gut says, whether you should do it or not. And it should not just be about it's a pride project or, you have the financial accessibility to do something. So you're going ahead and doing it. I think most of the time people get it wrong is I think more than a passion, it becomes a pride project, which shouldn't be the case.
Hmm.
And I think the due diligence is not done. And they want to compromise on, say, paying a consultant a certain standard of a project that should be done thoroughly versus cutting costs on those and finding somebody or doing it in house. And then, the quality and creating a restaurant is not just one aspect that, oh, I have a great location. Today, it's a culmination of 200 different things. It's about visions colliding, visions coming together, location, the interiors, the plates that you're using, the sustainability factor of it. So I think in today's day and age, there are many things that have to be worked together, and I think the due diligence has to be very, very strong. Otherwise, the especially in Dubai, survival is tough.
And we'll talk about survival in a second, because the other thing I wanted to ask you is, you have got some phenomenal brands, within the realm. So of course you've got 11 Woodfire, Inja. I mean, you've got a really amazing lineup of people. But what I wanted to also ask is, how do you manage these strong personalities? Because not only do you have the owners, you have the chefs, then you have the interior designer. Can't be easy to manage all of that.
It is not, and I think all artists, I think, are. I always like to say there are always edgy. I would use that word, including myself. I don't know if it's ego, but I think artists are very passionate people, and that passion can sometimes drive or can be transcended into a bit of, like you say, oh, okay, it's the ego. But I don't think so. I think it's more about that. It's my work, and my work's the best. Handling it is, I think what I have learned now, and I'm learning every day, is I have become a lot more patient. I try not to be very now vocal, and I think I'm pretty much killing my ego on many aspects of it, and letting people have their way and understand, and have my own way of making them understand. But I don't force ideas anymore before. Otherwise, there's somebody has to be, as a leader in a group, has to listen, absorb. So I'm becoming more of an absorbent than, and then what I need to do, I do it, but I don't react anymore. So before I was very, very reactive. Now I'm a better listener, I think, and a bit more patient, very patient.
Well, also talking of patience, is that once the project has been born per se, you have the physical space, everyone agrees on the menu, everyone agrees on the interior. Day of tasting.
Mhm.
So the chef has already mentioned, this is my vision, this is what I want to do. Everybody signed off on the costs, everybody signed off on the menu. On the day of tastings, have you had things go completely wrong? Or, I mean, and also, how do you manage or talk to somebody and say, look, I'm going to critique you, but it's not personal, it's about the business? How do you go about doing that? Because it can be quite sensitive.
It is. I think the first round of food trials, and it's very strange with most of the chefs, they've had it wrong. I believed in their talent, but something did not click, whether for our own internal projects or for external projects, something went wrong. But during the food tasting, one thing that I look at, and it's not, sometimes you'll be surprised, it's not the taste of how it's, I look at techniques of those chefs. I look at how well they can cook that meat. How did they treat that meat? The salt can go off one day here or there. Probably I'm having a bad day, and my tastes are different. But for me, the techniques matter a lot for the chefs, how they're cooking it. Now, it does happen at times that we have, we give you the food tasting, we give you the access to all our suppliers. But then you have decided that you're going to go to a Waitrose or to a Spinneys and pick up something from there. And in the realistic world, you cannot pick up the supplies from any of the grocery stores and then cook. So one tasting, you have picked up something from a grocery store and you cook that, and the next day you have to get from a supplier, and then there's a huge change and a huge deficit in the quality, and in the presentation, in the food costing.
Mm.
So those, I sometimes have had issues with, that just don't pick up things from grocery store and cook for the food trial. But there are times when things have gone horribly wrong. But like I said, if I believe in the chef's technique and what he has done in the past, then I overlook those, and then I'm like, but if the second and the third trial is not as per, then we need to sit down and have
Yeah,
conversations.
absolutely.
But also, food trials, at times there's just your head chef or your sous chef cooking it. And I do believe when the whole team comes together, then it's the symphony.
Yeah,
So you
of course.
cannot just, if you're a guitar player, I can't expect you to be playing the drums and then playing the piano. So you need to get your orchestra ready. So if my chef is able to give me a six on 10 in his first food trials. And I know for sure it's going to be at 11 on 10 when he enters the kitchen with his entire team.
And the other thing I wanted to ask is, how long do you sort of spend on the development and training side of things? Because, as an example, I know that you have this phenomenal project happening right now at Garbu, which is
Mhm.
very, very exciting. You've got some phenomenal chefs on there. How long do you need to spend development and tasting on a project to make it successful?
James, that's very interesting because I feel that every project has been it's had its own timeline. For example, let's talk about Garbu because I've had the time frame, the luxury of the chef coming on board few months in advance and being able to do these pop-ups in terms of supper clubs. So that the training process and understanding has given me an access to 3 to 4 months of the training and figuring out what works, what doesn't work, how's the chef doing, how his food, which is supposed to be this is it's a Romanian cooking Emirati food, so we had to also build that bridge between people's thinking about especially for the locals, right, that there is a European cooking Emirati food, and this is one of its own kind of project. So the sentiments. So this has been amazing. I wish we had this for all the restaurants, but for some of the restaurants, you're not able to get the chef way in advance. Not all restaurants have the luxury of your capital expenditure in terms of your working capital to pay the salary for the chefs for so long. So we have the I think a month to 2 months. The head chef should come 3 months in advance because he's creating the menu with you, the food costing and the menu engineering. I like these things as a skeleton to be ready. So when your main team comes in, it's just about then going on site and then training so your working capital doesn't become, but a whole month is definitely necessary, 1 to 2 months. So 2 months for the kitchen, 1 month for the front of the house. Simulations to just
Okay.
run when the restaurant is ready. I mean, in an idealistic world, once your restaurant is ready, no investor wants you to play around for a month and not open the doors
I,
for.
I was going to say, like,
So
do you have those conversations directly in the beginning with the investors and say, look, um, this is going to be a 3 to 5 year project, so on and so forth. At the beginning, we require 2 or 3 months worth of capital
mhm.
in order to ensure that the project is successful.
So in my capital, in my capex, in my my feasibility of restaurants, whether I'm investing, I always have a great space for working capital and contingency. And we generally do 2 months, which I understand that's fine. But yeah, that 2 months period is there for the training for the chefs so that they are ready. Uh, and I think now the investors have also started to, take me a lot more seriously uh, with the kind of projects and successes we do. So they go by the word that I say. Before it was tough. Before it was like, and who are you? And why am I listening to you? So I think that whole perception and dynamic has changed in the last 7 years. So today, when I say, listen, I need this money, and for an additional month of training and simulations, internal, not soft opening, no nothing. This is just us to the T where I am not convinced that we are ready to open the doors. I will not open it because look at the scrutiny we are under, and if, of course things go wrong. I mean, we still make mistakes, but yes, to answer your question, 1 month is I definitely need for.
And how much of the budget do you require nowadays for marketing? What I mean by that is, of course, either you have pre-opening marketing budgets,
Mhm.
or the famous, I call it, opening day or opening night, or friends and family. That's a serious whack of money because you're not open to the public, nobody's paying for the food.
Mhm.
How much budget do you put towards that? Because some people have a month, some people have a day, some people have a week. How do
It's
you manage
different.
it?
I think, I mean, when you go by the laws of the numbers, the assumption, I think 6% is always considered to be a good amount of money that you put from a revenue towards your marketing cost. But I think right now, especially the market that we're in, 6%, again, depending on your sales of what your top numbers are. If you're making 100 million, then
Hmm.
6% of this is what, like 60,000? No, 600. Okay, we'll do the
Yes, yeah.
mathematics. That's a great number to keep a month, say 60,000 a month to keep it. But then right now, with the competition and your social media SEOs, your AdWords, your thankfully we don't have to pay anybody to come and dine anymore, because in between 3 4 years back you had to also bring in the top influencers, and you not just give them free food but also pay them to come and dine.
Oh, so that's changed
So
also.
I think that's changed. Then again, we have changed. The company grows bigger. You have um, more camaraderie. So they want to come more as your friend. So that's again, that's a part of marketing, right? That you invest so much in meeting people and investing in them, and that's a whole marketing aspect to it. But I think right now, anywhere between 10 to 12% goes in marketing, because whether it's to be featured in magazines, in publications, in inviting people. You know, it's not just about concentrating on the local market, it is also about internationally what is happening, especially for some of my restaurants. So to have people talk about it and write about it, that is a huge marketing cost. So that is where some of, especially when you have the 50 bests and the Michelins and the world's 50 best. So you want to invite food writers from Asia, from New York, from Turkey. That costs a lot of money to pay for those flights. Then you have collaborations. Then you have to pay the chefs who are you inviting, the celebrity chefs, their stay. All of these things add up. So I don't know, for people who are listening, whether 10%, they'll be like, ha, mine is at 25%.
Because
So
you can't ignore it, right? Marketing is massive nowadays. It's an integral part of the business.
it is, and I think we keep around. I think, but still 6 to 10%, even for the pre-opening. Especially, so we do something called, we keep it as food tasting. Thankfully, when you calculate it at the food cost level, it's not as the same that you would say as a selling price number, right? So when I'm doing, say, a week of free food for hundreds of people. On papers, it might be like I'm spending 100,000, but the food cost by, let's say, 30%, I'm spending 30,000. Still counts for it, but I'd like doing a staggered opening. I am I've done this in the past. Done 80 restaurants by now, so done it all, been there. I think this whole staggered thing works because, first of all, on one night you cannot give attention to everybody. There is no quality. There is You are probably being able to give small bites. That is not really showcasing food. Again, for me, all my restaurant, James, I food is the hero. I run a very food centric company. Mohalla, 11 Wood Fire, RSVP, Inja, Maria at DIFC when it was there, and Camelos. Food, I don't do have any gimmicks. We don't really have experiential dining right now. Food is what it's soul food. Food that has no pretense. Is for a family. It's for sharing, and that's what even Garbu will be about. So when food is a centric part, I cannot have a night of a party and serve canopies or small bites. And also, I have become this non-alcoholic, investor and stuff. Which we have a bar in India, but in Dubai I have a non-alcoholic restaurant. So I'm not even serving alcohol for people to probably change their mind and set about the food. So they're literally coming to my restaurants to eat. So I like staggered invitations. I want over a month and one or two tables maximum. And the people that are important, everybody is important, but by invitation. So the team can concentrate, and they can also give us feedback, and they can have one-on-one with the chefs. That's very important to me. So after a month or 2 months of opening, you can have a small party, because by then you have got everybody in the restaurant. You have made some changes. I also request people, don't call influencers and food critiques or connoisseurs on your first week of opening. You are not ready. No one is. So
So
let
true.
breathe. Let regular people come. Let others come in. Do your soft opening. Let normal people walk in. Do reservation. Don't put it out in social media that we are open. Do a very calm, soft. Then build up the momentum. When you think that, okay, this is the time when my food is now to a level where I can now expose it to the world in terms of bringing that visibility and marketing factor, then invite influencers. And I would say month two, month three, not week one.
So then you touched upon a point earlier on, which I think is really important. You have a very serious position within the company. You've been in the industry for some time. Now, being a woman in the industry, you are and have been paving the way for younger women and women to come in and to really, make huge waves in the industry. Has it been challenging for you?
So, starting of my career or my life, I think I have a brother, and my parents never differentiated as gender. I got the same kind of education. I played basketball for India, so my parents were like, go out there, rule the world, do study, play, do extracurricular activities. So I think my parents taught me to fight it out there, and you are no less than anybody. And there was never this whole man woman. I studied in a co-ed school, then I studied in all girls. But then when you come to this industry, and the thing is, I'm sure this happens in many other industries. I have not worked. I've always been in F&B. I know it is a male-dominated industry. It is tough, and we cannot shy away from it. To be taken seriously, to be there are so many times when I have to be out there to tell people like, hey, this is my education. Hey, look, I have done so much work. Why would you not take me seriously for many 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 things in life? And then it's not nice that you have to sell your own self for the kind of work that you have done.
Mm,
So it's not nice. I mean, as much as they say that, oh, Panchali, blowing your own trumpet. I said, yes, it is important because this is where I have built the company on to remind people that I as a woman have worked hard. Because when women talk about their successes, it's taken in a very negative connotation. But sometimes when men have the same kind of, success, they get a pat on the back like bravado. So I think that has to stop somewhere,
mm,
and to also
absolutely.
take women who and we have a habit. I think I have a habit of overcompensating, being of a certain gender, that, oh, I have to work harder and I have to prove a point, or I have to go back home and be a better wife, and I don't spend so much time. So that mentality needs to change, that you're also equally doing it. But you know what? I'm very happy right now because, like I told you, when you do your work and you do it diligently, and success comes along with it, then people, they notice you, and then they take pride in you. And the founder of the company at the end of the day was a man who founded me and believed in me to open this fantastic, it was a huge opportunity. I was 32 years old when I became the MD at that time, of to start this whole company from scratch. So it was a man who believed in me, and so I can't shy with that, that there's a there's a successful man who helped me. But it is tough. I just wish that there's a lot more openness to welcome women in the industry, and to actually sit down and say that some of us are a little intelligent.
No, absolutely. But do you think that has changed over the
Yes,
years?
of course. I think the voices are being heard. I think women are now coming out there. Um, Many, many international women in the industry here or across the world has broken the glass ceiling. And one of them who I really, really admire, and is somebody I look up to, is Indra Nui, not from the industry, but the former CEO of PepsiCo, and an Indian American woman, like, humble, and went out there and broke the glass ceiling, and said, like, I had my horse blinkers on and concentrated on it. And that makes you believe that, oh, a woman can be a CEO, a woman can be a president, a woman can do this. So I think things are changing. The support mechanism is great. I think women are rooting for each other. So, and I think, you know, I think men also support women because they understand that men can't multitask, and
100%.
women can multitask like we were born to do it. And in this industry, you definitely need it.
Oh, you have
So,
to have octopus arms, I think, in this industry. But then, as you said earlier on, now when you go to very serious investors,
mhm.
they must immediately trust you because not only have you built a very serious reputation, you've also built a very serious company. So it must have been a lot easier now to go to those investors or capital
Yep.
venture lists and say to them, listen, guys, we have this project, so on and so forth. I believe in it. Here are the numbers. What do you think?
I'm going to tell you today, and I'll announce it here. We haven't officially done it, but I'm fine to go with this. I have just been, it's been 3 months now. We've just been appointed as one of the operators for Neom Sindala Island, along
Oh,
with
wow.
the Admine Group and Joel Robichaud, which has selected Seven Management. So the three of us are going to be handling 17 restaurants. And I have five restaurants that Atelier House is going to manage. And one of the jewel of the place is the yacht club, which 20 people, operators, went in for, and they gave it to to my company,
Oh,
to
wow.
Atelier House.
Congratulations.
Thank you. So this is for us. It is, and with Garbu also, with the Tashkil partnership that we did. These kind of projects, and there are some other big expansions in India with major groups. Again, we also worked. We signed with major food group in US, Neom, the Garbu project. This has put Atelier House in 2.0. And why? Because of those last, I would say, 20 years of work as a small player or a guppy in the pond. You work, you focus, you do it, and somebody has seen the kind of work we've done. So now is my time when people have said that this is a good company. Let's partnership, and these are not small deals. These
Yeah.
are these are these are massive projects, and Neom is one of the biggest one in the world right now in terms of an island development. So for somebody to come like, I want to invest in Panchali and Atelier House, must have done something right, because they all have come together. So you have a massive Garbu project for Dubai, a big one in India, Neom, major food group in US. So now we are on that international front. Like, let's go. This is not anymore small project. This is international partnership and
Wow.
acquisitions.
So, how much of your time is strategic focused with your job? Because, as you said, you're not running a few small restaurants. You're running restaurants all over the world. You signed some amazing projects. How much of your time is really strategic?
I have never been able to understand, because I work around 18, 19 hours a day, and
Still,
still,
wow.
and it's and I think that there's 5 hours of sleep. There's 1 or 2 hours of dinner with my husband, because that's probably the only time we get together. And otherwise, it's all work happening. And it's everything is happening like a machine. I would say that. So there's never a sit down time. And I'm like, I'm just going to sit on my expansion and the strategy and acquisitions and mergers and invest. No, it's all happening together, because restaurant is, and I micromanage, and I shouldn't do that anymore. I have a great team. We are hundreds of us right now, and they should like just leave it to us, but that just doesn't go. I'm really trying. It's very annoying. I know my team is very irritated with me most of the time. It's like, leave it. Why is this post okay? So I have to stop that. But I'm so involved with even like the posts that they do on social media, or what happened, this plateware, that, because that's also creative side, and I don't want to lose that part of
Mm.
it. But slowly and steadily, I'm moving myself out. I only want to be there for solution finding if there's any issue that needs to be done. Pre-open the restaurants, because that is where my passion is. And then, like I told you, do not love operations, so I hand it over to my operating team. There you go. Then I am a guest.
Enjoy.
So I think I like to believe now 50 to 60% of my time is just in looking for talents and investments and expansions and meetings, and then right now I'm caught between, like I say, this Bermuda Triangle, because I'm like lost in there between India, Saudi, and Dubai.
Wow.
So it's just I'm nonstop traveling. I took like 18, 19 flights last year, just so it's a bit much, but this is what I have to do, and I have the energy, the age with me. So uh, pretty much a little bit of brain mind that is left. I want to make sure that I can grow the company. I want to leave a legacy behind. I feel like sometimes I was born to do this. So
And the other one I wanted to ask you, because you touched again upon this point, with the company growing, when it comes to the sustainability part of it, there are two very specific points. There is the human sustainability within the company, and also, of course, the environmental sustainability and practices that restaurants have to take into consideration. How do you tackle those 2 points?
wow, that's an interesting question. It is tough, especially the human sustainability factor. As you know, that we closed doors to Maria, which was very close to us. There'll be always restaurants that will open more and close. Uh, we I have great team. We have great talent. Sustaining them is right now is tough, because somebody or the other is always able to pay you double to take you. So first of all, it's not about just remuneration wise. Sustaining people in your company also has to feel like a family. What are you doing extra that an XYZ is not doing it, or they have better growth patterns? I think right now what we're just doing is they understand, and we come from a boss, a founder who's very humble. He was the ex COO of Merrill Lynch, and which is now Bank of America. Had 96,000, one of the top Wall Street professionals. So we've learned from him. We are very humble. We are grounded. Um, it's been a very organic growth. So the team understands. I'm in no hurry. It looks like right now that, oh, we suddenly have blown up to like we have 17, 18 restaurants by end of this year. But this has all been coming slowly and happening. So, we invest is like one or two restaurants, not like 10 restaurants in a year. So the team and the people have started realizing that they can see the future along with us. We don't hide the numbers. Everybody in my team, whether it is my executive assistant to the executive director, they know the kind of numbers we make. We share the numbers to share the bonuses with them. What is your growth? So we have those conversations that this is what we are doing. Um, and what works for Teller House is the dynamics of the different kind of concepts that we do has helped us a lot. It'll be strange that it's a very strange thing, but it has helped in sustainability, especially for a lot of people, because I have a French and a Gulpin, so at Leavenwood Fire, an Indian, an Italian, and a French, and a cuisine, and a Japanese, and so people are also able to cross pollinate, and they're like, okay, let send me here, send me there. Uh, People are keen and interested in the company, so because we're not just doing one cuisine, so everyone in headquarters also like, oh, what are we doing next? So this company has some interesting things. We are always trying to do something new and different. I am so opening a French Asian restaurant in a box park, or wood fire in a villa, or a world's first Indian Japanese.
Mm.
So I think my sustainability is in the fact that we are able to do interesting things that keeps people very keen, motivated, and it's like changing your roles every year. So I think that is something,
Yeah.
and they like this non-political, grounded environment that we have been able to create. So people are happy. It's a family. It is really a family. So they know that there's no politics in my company. There is no like in our headquarters who said that, who blah blah. No, that does not happen. My entire office is completely open, so everybody is able to talk. There's no cubicles. There's no like, oh, okay, just do your work. No, no, no. Everybody gets to see everybody. They get to see me. We all talk to each other, work together, creative space, be creative.
That's really
So
important, though, I think, because a lot of companies would shy away from that, and they would be completely the opposite. They would just be like, okay, you're just a number, see you later, and out. But I think that's really important these days because there's so much competition. As
yeah,
you said, give me a few extra dollars here, there, whatever. But if you feel that you're part of a much bigger family and that you can do some really interesting things, of course
true,
you're going to want to stay,
true.
right?
And they have seen a company like, I mean, the Dubai company that started with 4 people is close to, I don't know, 800, 900 people today,
Whoa.
and it's going to grow. So and those people have also stayed back today. They're all directors of the company, and that is so important. My four pillars have still there. Valentina is an executive director. Zohaib is director of finance. Jenny is project coordinator director. So they have all gone. So they see it, and they show them as as a sample. We all show each other as a sample, like, look what has happened to me will happen to you, stick around. And then others always think, so if these people have worked with her for 7 years, there's something must be going right. And you will be surprised, our attrition level is very, very low. We
I,
have people, mahalla,
yeah.
it's been 6 years, people are still there working. Maria, till the last day, the whole team worked. Yunus, the head chef, he was still there with us. Petra, the GM, 11 Wood Fire has been close to 2 years now. The team is still there. I don't, like I said, like it or not like it, I don't interfere with operations. I don't go and throw my weight around it. I go like a regular guest if I am hosting people. I have I have a lot of dignity for labor. I will on openings I clear plates. If you're ever there for any of our openings, you will see me. I'm clearing plates. I'm serving. Garbu, I have been there hosting every weekend. Um, People, serving them food lifting. Like I told you, I have zero ego. I have a lot of respect for labor, and dignity of labor, and I will never shy away from, like, if I have to wash this glass, I will wash it. And
But I think Panchali, that's one of the biggest attributes is the fact that people see the CEO getting her hands dirty. It means that wow, if she's willing to do it, then of course we're willing to get behind it, and also to be able to keep your top four pillars
mhm.
for 7 years. That speaks volumes in terms of the type of manager that you are.
Thank you.
That's because it's not it's rare, especially in this market right
This
now.
right now, especially, my brother said this very interesting line, and he had a different connotation, but I loved it. He was in merchant navy at that time, and he said that, and he was an engineer, so he was going down in the ship and like playing around with the machines, and his hands would get greasy and dirty, and cut marks everywhere. And he told me once that dirty hands are a sign of clean money. And that always stuck with me. And I was like, what an intelligent thing to say. That means you have to get your hands dirty. You got to work hard. And that shows the path of your clean money is like your life, your successes and everything. So you got to get down there. You got to, clean that WC in housekeeping. You have to.
No, but it's true. I agree, and it's a brilliant thing to say, and it's a very smart thing to say.
So
Now, with your experience here, what are the sort of now we've had success obviously with Michelin arriving, Go Milo, 50 Best, and I think only more to come.
mhm.
What do you see now? The predictions for the industry in this region.
My prediction is I think there is going to be a lot more international openings, I think, for another year or two. There will be a time where I think the closure rate of restaurants is going to go get higher. And it is has to happen. Every market has to have that little change to come in. And then there will be an awakening time for all the investors to understand that the time where they could do 10 restaurants in a year or a company, it's time that they take a step back and probably invest in one or two and doesn't have the kind of it's a very resilient market, James. It is, as much as I say that we don't need more restaurants, but there are times when I mean, I have slowed down for sure. We are doing one or two restaurants in Dubai, because I don't want to again dilute the market. But like I said, it's resilient because there are still restaurants that are still opening and doing extremely well, and you still think that is there more capacity for this restaurant to even make money? But they do.
Mm.
But there's also restaurants that are just empty and not making money. So I think the trend will be, and I hope it is work on putting lower capexes, smaller seating restaurants. We don't need 150, 200 to 300 cover restaurants. A lot more homegrown. The talent is there. Make it a 70, 80 cute, compact restaurant. Put in less money. Your break evens are higher. Then you can think about doing something instead of putting in 15, $20 million and then 300 covers. And then half your restaurant is empty. You don't know. You forget about break even. You don't even know if you're going to see the sales that you were assuming. That does kill the market and kills other players too, because the pie is still this much.
Mm.
Restaurants, as we always talk about the per capita ratio and the per person ratio compared to a New York or a Paris. I mean, look at it, like now, what, 15,000 restaurants? The population is not increasing. The spending power and inflation is there. The food costs with the import and export taxes are going up. Corporate tax is coming in 9%, which is also going to kill a lot more investment that people were thinking about it. It's not, you take 9% is going 9%. Many restaurants probably make 9 to 10% bottom line. So that is going to get impacted. Again, we'll see if the profit margins, how it works. But I think the trend will be, there will be, the luxury market will come. I think will take a standstill, and a lot more smaller, uh, what we say, like a fine casual will step up again, which had happened in 2014, 2015. Um, but I don't see the city slowing down right now. And I mean, I wake up every day with anxiety. It's like, how many more do we need? It's just, it's not even about, making money these days. It's all about sustaining.
Yeah.
It's like, I just want to sustain for the lease years that I have signed up for. And how do I break? Because every year, when you do a financial feasibility for 10 years, so 5 years, say, for example, you always do like a 10% increment, by default, that I should have year one, year two, I should have a 10% increment in my total revenue and my sales. But right now that's not what's happening, because the number of restaurants, the way they're increasing, I don't think restaurants are really year on year, the sales are going up. Many are like still either at the same level or
Dropping down.
dropping down, not by exponentially, like are close to 20-25%. And I know some major brands have dropped down their sales. They're still making money, but there is a drop of 20-25% in the sales.
And have you found that the landlords in particular with them knowing this information? Are they still raising the rents, or are they keeping them still? What have you found in your experience?
I think I think if your brand is good and the landlord does not want to uh, lose you as a brand, I think they'll keep you. So some of my restaurants, we have spoken about it and showed them that listen, the sales have not really gone up in the last 2 years, and we do not expect it in the next year. Also, it is going to go up because it's becoming a very stagnant based market right now. So they have agreed on keeping the same. There's no lowering or nothing because they can still see your numbers are coming in. So they said, okay, let's keep the same. So there's for two restaurants they've kept it same. The other one that is doing extremely well, the landlord can see the numbers, so they're like, no, you make money, I make money, but it's as per RERA. It's not gone up like really high up. But it's all about conversations everywhere, whether even in India or in Saudi. I think landlords, if they like your brand, if they don't like you, for example, they'll be like, thank you very much, you may leave. We have somebody else. And there are enough people who have seen a project failing to still come and speak to the landlord and be like, here, I want you to take double the money, which also kind of messes up with the whole thing because somebody
Mm.
is ready to open a restaurant in the same space that a restaurant did not work and paying higher rents, then you can't blame the landlords, they're getting the money. But I think they're a lot more open to conversations than the big players. It's all project and concept based.
But the other thing I want to ask you as well is that, and we touched upon it before we started recording, is that from a there are also, I can't remember the last count, but probably around 150 to 155 five-star luxury hotels in Dubai alone.
Wow.
Within those spaces, there's obviously outlets. How can the bigger players in the market help the homegrown brands? Because we have enough internationals, let's be honest, but we really want to champion more homegrown chefs, more homegrown brands. How can they really help us? Because they have the spaces, but they don't necessarily have homegrown brands. So how can we channel that?
I think it's changing now. I think the hotels have understood that for them to have their own internal development teams, which, whether you spoke about a Hilton or a Premier Inns or Oberoi or any of the big hotel groups, they have their own F&B development team or a Kersner. But I think they've started understanding that it's time you outsource them. Now, through outsourcing them, there are people like Rizwan Kasim who went to a hotel and said, let me help you bring a shoe or a Eugene and bring a homegrown concept. Let me create something that's specific instead of just bringing an international chef and
Mm.
putting a brand there. So I think the market and the hoteliers are now intelligent enough. And now they're seeing that, listen, we have run this model. For some of us, it's not working. The model needs to change. We need to outsource these spaces and to do something which is specific enough to give the power to, celebrate a local chef, a talent, and an investor who has the idea of how it is running. So I think, even with, I think Antonio with Sunset Hospitality, their restaurants coming in hotels,
Mm.
bringing in some international brands. But I think now the model will change. I think I've had conversation with some of the developers here who are ready to talk to us and be like, listen, do you have something interesting? Because a lot of people also know that I invest in talent in the country, and I have few other people who are they don't have the cash, so I want to invest with them and as a business, which I think would make a lot more money. So I think hotels will start are talking. A clear example is it.
At least
They
they're
have
talking.
started talking
Yeah.
that, okay, you know what, take a space and do something, you know, interesting with it, and we will not interfere, which was important because before also when they outsource spaces, there was still a constant, I think, intervention and interference from
Mm.
hotels to like, this does not match our SOPs.
Yes.
So that flexibility, I think, is a lot more coming in. That corporate structure wall is now getting
Yeah.
broken and merged. So I think they'll start becoming more flexible. That okay, occupy your space just like you would do in a standalone, and you are standalone.
But now, in saying that, you have yourself have experience with Michelin restaurants,
Mm-hmm.
and how do you see the top end dining within the UAE? Because Michelin is here. Do you think people want to have sort of more Michelin experiences, or they want to carry on having sort of mid to high casual experiences?
From my experiences and the conversations that we have, I think I'll give you an example. When Michelin came for the first time in 2022, we 11 restaurants, 9 restaurants got one, and two got two. I was the only one, a non-licensed, and something that you could afford. So when we had a conversation about how the sales happened with across all the restaurants and how did the footfall change, I'm just trying to give you an example of what happened. 11 wood fires footfall changed drastically till date. It's been 2 years, and year on year, we are stronger than we were before. Since 21st of June 2022, the day we got a star. Why? Because it is affordable. You can actually walk into 11 Wood Fire and grab a burger for 90 dirhams and or have a great meal. Vis-a-vis versus all the other top end luxury Michelin stars that are there, which are a lot more expensive than the experience that you will have. I think their sustainability, they did get footfall, but not as long as in comparison to 11. So 11's sustainability of that footfall remained because it was accessible. Because people, you could have a meal once a week or once or fortnightly. You can't do the same with the other top end luxury Michelin star restaurants. For you, that would be once in a celebration or somebody's in town, once a month sort of a thing. So what I think is the top end luxury market with the Michelin that's coming in, the sustainability factor is going to be tough.
Mm.
The mid level is what will be able to churn some money and have the footfall, and that's what people want. I'll give you an example. If you probably go to a Bangkok market and you have a fine dining versus the street food that has a Michelin star, my first reaction, I wanted the street food because the flavors are great. The food is going to be fantastic. It's got a star. So your checklist is done for visiting the star restaurant, which is people's bucket list or a 50 best. So whether you go to a massively fine dining luxury restaurant which has 2 stars, or you go to a regular place or a street food place or a casual dining place like 11 Wood Fire and get your Michelin star bucket list is done. I think the mid market is what is going to survive, and probably at some point, a lot more homegrown, concentrative, experiential will also come in the eyes of Michelin or even 50 best. I mean, look at the number of homegrown restaurants in 50 best
Yeah, I mean,
this
it's
this year.
amazing
So
list.
the voters are also
Yeah,
understanding, right?
yeah.
It's not. I mean, of course, your LPM is there, but they're also understanding that it's time to celebrate sustainability, homegrown. There's a lot more thought process. It's not just like a cut, copy, paste here. We just
Yeah,
took the
yeah,
brand and plugged it. No, there's a lot more. So, Orfali, Oceano, Quinoa, Moonrise, 11,
yeah.
all homegrown.
It's
The
amazing.
top,
So now, Panchali, we've come to the quick fire questions.
ready to go.
Right. So, first things first. Are you sweet or salty?
Salty.
Salty.
Salt,
Pickled or spicy?
pickled.
Oh,
Yeah.
I thought you were going to say spice, to be honest. Right. Waffles or pancakes?
Waffles, crunchy.
Hot dog or shawarma?
Hmm. That's a tough one. Shawarma. It's smoky.
Okay.
Yeah.
At the moment, right now, what are your top 3 go-to cuisines that you love to eat?
Chinese. Oh, love Chinese. Thai and Italian.
Oh, nice. Straightforward. I love it. Top 3 culinary heroes, and they don't need to be chefs.
Culinary heroes. I actually really don't have culinary heroes. I have outside it, but my heroes are all my chefs
Mhm.
and my team members, especially the chefs, because it's a great creative skill. So every chef of mine who has worked with us and created these beautiful restaurants are my heroes, because I work for one day in operations and I'm like crying, my knees hurting and this, but why they're heroes is because food is next to God, and somebody to create that and give you an experience and for you to be like having that nirvana moment, they're my real heroes.
Oh, I love that. Now, tell me your funniest ever restaurant or kitchen incident.
This is, I don't know if it's funny or no, it's like scarring, but like I said, my first day in at the Oberoi Mumbai 800 room property, no induction, nothing ready, just thrown at the deep end. Go in. So I go in the restaurant. This is the all day dining I'm taking over and handling. And they said, oh, you have your morning brief with your team. And I said, sure. There were 96 people in that restaurant that were working. Those 96 people are, most of them were in the age bracket. And I kid you not, I'm 23 years old as a manager. They were all in the age bracket of 45 to 60. Because in India and in Bombay, you have union. So people are working till they're 55, 60-year old as senior captains. So I will go in, and there is quite an elderly crowd in front of me, and they're all there working for 40 years in the same property, doing the same thing. And I have walked in, and one of them just commented, here comes another model. So
Oh,
just walking, waltzing in, because they didn't care, because every year there was a new manager,
right,
like a machine coming from the Oberoi Hotel School.
right.
And they're just standing there, and you're like, yeah, so what are you going to teach us today? And that was the most intimidating and funny. And I didn't know what to do. I was like, yes, we are all going to work for you. You are a manager, you are the boss. So teach us something new. What is going to happen? And I, I, I didn't know what to say. I said, well, okay, this is what is going to happen. And they actually loved me for doing this. And the whole story connects, because I told them, we are running an operations of serving 1,000, 1,200 people. You guys don't need me. You know what you're doing at your different stations. I'm just going to be standing here and doing nothing for you all. So two things that is always less in any operations is cutlery and glassware, juices, water, cutlery. No, it's breakfast. So every day for close to a year, I used to stand in the morning for 2 hours with the dishwashing team and clean spoons and forks,
Oh.
because they needed that non-stop, and I wanted to make sure they had constant supply of it. So they actually,
Dedication. That's dedication as well.
no, because I didn't want to be with them, because I knew I would be pushed around. Those senior captains of mine, 60-year old, like
Oh
they
my
would eat
God.
me alive. So I said, you know what? Let me just stay out of their way. They know it's a machine working.
Yeah,
They
yeah,
don't
yeah.
need me. I would be just standing. That's why they were calling me a model, because most of the people would just stand at the door and welcome people, smiling, "Good morning, good
Right, right,
afternoon." The
right, right,
managers
right,
were
right,
like,
right.
we don't need to be in their space. So I said, let
Ah,
my two hands be worth your
yeah.
for something. So I would give them cutlery, and then, funnily enough, gained a bit of respect for them. It's like, oh, she just does not want to wear the attire and put the makeup on and smile and have. She actually wants to do some
Ah, fair
work.
enough though.
So,
Amazing.
yeah, that was welcome to the hotel world. Welcome to the hospitality world.
What advice would you give to 16-year-old Panchali Mahendra?
Uh, there is a lot coming your way. It's going to be a roller coaster ride. And this roller coaster is definitely going to throw you some massive turns. But be patient, and don't take things too hard. And the whole concept of listen from one ear and take it out from the other, especially in this industry, is very, very important. Don't let things get you down. Do your work, focus down, carry on, and life is great. And you're about to meet the man of your dreams, a handsome man. So,
What's his name?
Chris Martin,
Ah, Chris Martin.
not from Coldplay,
Not from
my
Coldplay?
Chris.
Okay, okay. Just checking. So, final question is, what advice would you give to anyone who is looking to open a restaurant business?
Due diligence, a lot of due diligence. Please do your homework properly. It is very important. Have a lot more conversations. And I would suggest for two people, one who have no experience in this industry, get some internship. As an investor, I would still urge you, whether you want to or no, but go and work for a month in a restaurant just to see if this is for you or no.
Mm.
Because most of the time, that's where your answer is. I have told this to investors, come do an internship. And I don't care if you're the CEO of your company and this is a passion. I still want you a side hustle. Come and work with me, even for a week. See how you feel about it. If you still feel the same passion and energy and dedication, then this industry is for you. Otherwise, it's not. And for other talented people, I think work hard, give it some time. Uh, right now, everybody is being, I think, sidetracked with a lot of social media and influencer programs. Don't just go on with it. Give yourself the time and space to grow and, like, just do the old school thing. Just work hard, and the fame and opportunity and recognition will come. You cannot expect to get a Michelin star or that kind of level, that celebrity status in 1 year of working. That for me is a little funny.
Mm.
So I think people need to understand that this industry needs time, and you as a chef or a restaurant operator or an owner need to give that time for you to win that recognition. So
Amazing. So, Panchali, I just wanted to sort of recap a little bit on what we've discussed because I think it's been phenomenal.
thank
From your journey to your education to Mumbai to then, you know, coming into and doing the concepts, and then of course bringing all these concepts to life. Over 80 concepts is no joke. I mean, it's absolutely phenomenal. The fact that, you know, you've taken all this time to really nurture some incredible people in the industry, becoming the CEO, then different approaches. It's really been a phenomenal journey. So, if anybody wanted to get hold of you via social media, how can they do that?
They can send me a message on my Instagram handle that is open to everybody else, or the best way is to just come walk into our office. It's in the By Design District. Just walk in. It's called Atelier House Hospitality. Come have a chat with. If you can't find me, find my team. We are always open to understanding new visions. I want to be on board with the trends and vision. I don't want to miss out. So the conversations are the best thing. So come, reach us out in our office.
And I'll put all of that in the show notes as well.
Sure.
So, on behalf of the Chef JKP Podcast, Panchali, we just want to say thank you very much for paving the way for so many people to succeed, for the country to really be at the forefront of hospitality. Thank you for coming in and taking the time to be here because I know you're extremely busy with so many things. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you on the show.
Thank you, James, and congratulations to you as well for doing this wonderfully, and most importantly for giving this platform for women like us to be able to come and share our journey and to reach out to a larger audience. So thank you so much.